I have lived long enough to notice how often the quietest people carry the heaviest burdens. Folks who never complain, never ask for help, just keep moving forward with whatever strength they have left. And every once in a while, you witness the exact moment when one of those people decides they are done being invisible. I saw it happen once, in a dusty little town out west. The stagecoach door swung open, and Lily stepped down into Copper Bend with dust on her hem and a dead man's name in her pocket. Mrs. Harmon, the boarding house widow, stood wringing her hands by the water trough. Her mouth opened and closed twice before any words came out. "The horse," Lily said. "Is it still alive?" Mrs. Harmon blinked. "Ma'am, the horse that killed him. Where is it?" Nobody answered. The stagecoach driver froze with tobacco halfway to his lip. Two men on the porch stopped talking mid-sentence. Lily picked up her carpet bag. The brass clasp caught the afternoon sun. Inside were two calico dresses, a sewing kit, and a letter she hadn't opened since St. Louis. "Which way is the saloon?" Mrs. Harmon's face went pale. Respectable women don't, but Lily was already walking. If you are watching from somewhere with wide skies and old memories, I would be grateful if you shared where you are joining us from today. And if you have been enjoying these stories without subscribing, we would be honored to have you as part of our little community. The saloon doors banged against the wall. Every head turned. Lily climbed onto a chair before anyone could stop her. The wood creaked under her boots. A ring of tobacco spit stained the floor below. "Name's Lily," she said. "I came here to marry a man I never met. He's dead, but his horse ain't." Someone snickered near the bar. She kept talking. "Any man who rides that stallion 10 minutes without getting thrown, he can court me proper. That's my offer." Silence. Then laughter. Then the scrape of chairs as men stood up to look at her like she was something they had never seen before. She stepped down, walked out, did not look back. 6 weeks passed. The blacksmith's son lasted 47 seconds. Lily counted from Mrs. Harmon's porch. Her fingers wrapped around a tin cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. The boy hit the dirt hard. His father slapped him upside the head right there in front of everyone. The cattle driver from El Paso brought his own rope, thick, oiled. He talked loud about breaking Mustangs down in Laredo. Thunder dragged him through the fence on the second loop. The man's shirt tore clean off his back. He left town before sundown. Week after week. Lily watched from the window, from the porch, from the fence, dust in her throat, sun on the back of her neck. The same pattern every time: swagger, mount, fall, 23, 24. Then Garrett came. He did not try to ride. He stood outside the corral in his fine coat, thumbs hooked in his vest, and offered her $200 cash. "You come live at my place," he said. "Forget the horse." Lily's jaw tightened. "I ain't livestock, Mr. Garrett." He spat near her boots, close enough to feel the wet. Could have fooled me. 25 men, 25 failures. That night, Mrs. Harmon brought tea to her room. The cup rattled against the saucer when she set it down. "What if nobody passes, child?" Lily's hands shook. She pressed them flat against her thighs where the old woman could not see. "Then I'll figure something else." The door clicked shut. Lily sat alone with the letter still unopened on the dresser. Outside, Thunder paced the corral, back and forth, back and forth. And somewhere on the road into town, a man she had never seen before was tying his tired mare to the post outside the general store. Cole pulled his mare to a stop outside the general store. The animal's sides heaved. Foam flecked her bit. He ran a hand down her neck before dismounting, letting her know the day's work was done. The hitching post was sun-bleached and splintered. He wrapped the reins twice, checked the knot, and stepped onto the wooden sidewalk. His boots left prints in the dust that had settled there since morning. Inside, the store smelled of coffee grounds and leather and something sweet molasses, maybe, or dried apples in a barrel somewhere. A man behind the counter looked up from a ledger, gray whiskers, spectacles pushed low on his nose. "Help you." "Coffee," Cole said. "Jerky if you got it, and water for my horse." The shopkeeper nodded toward a barrel by the door. "Trough's out back. Coffee's a nickel. Jerky's 2 cents a strip." Cole fished coins from his pocket, set them on the counter. The shopkeeper poured coffee into a tin cup and slid it across. Passing through, looking for work, Cole took a sip, hot, bitter, good. Ranch work, cattle, fences, whatever needs doing. The shopkeeper scratched his whiskers. "Ain't much hiring right now. Drought's got everyone tight. You might try the Garrett spread north of town. But he's particular about who he takes on. Garrett, big outfit, runs about 2,000 head. But like I said, particular." Cole finished the coffee, set the cup down, obliged. "You ain't gonna ask about the horse?" Cole paused at the door. "What horse?" The shopkeeper grinned, gaps in his teeth. "The one everybody's talking about. Black Stallion in the corral east of here. Some woman's got a contest running. Ride the horse 10 minutes. You can court her. 25 men tried. 25 men failed." Cole's face did not change. "Sounds like the horse don't want to be rode. Sounds like the woman don't want to be courted." Cole pushed through the door. The shopkeeper's laugh followed him out. The sun hung low. Orange light cut through the dust and turned everything copper. Cole led his mare around back, let her drink from the trough, and waited while she took her fill. He rubbed the sweat from her coat with a rag from his saddlebag, checked her hooves, picked a stone from the left rear. When she was settled, he walked, not toward Garrett's spread, not toward the boarding house where a room might be had, just walked, letting his legs remember how to move after 8 hours in the saddle. The corral appeared on his right, split rail fence, a water trough inside, half empty, and the horse. Cole stopped. The stallion was black, not the shiny black of a show horse, but deep black, the color of creek water at night. Muscle moved under his coat as he paced, back and forth, back and forth, his ears pinned flat against his skull. Cole rested his hand on the fence post. The wood was warm from the sun, rough under his palm. The horse stopped pacing. Cole did not move. The stallion turned his head, looked at him. Nostrils flared, testing the air. Cole breathed slow, in through his nose, out through his mouth. He could smell the horse from here, sweat and dust and something wilder underneath, something that had not been broken. A full minute passed, maybe longer. The horse's ears flicked forward. Cole had worked horses for 15 years. He had seen ears pinned in anger. He had seen ears swiveled in confusion. But this was something else. This was the horse deciding whether to look closer. He did not approach, did not reach through the fence, did not do any of the things the 25 men before him had probably done. He tipped his hat, a small gesture, the kind a man might give a neighbor he respected but did not know well yet. Then he walked on. Lily's fingers pressed against the window glass. The glass was warm. The late sun had been heating it all afternoon. Below. The stranger walked away from the corral with the same unhurried pace he had walked toward it. She had seen every one of the 25 men approach that fence, seen them swagger, seen them spit, seen them shake ropes and holler and try to prove something before they even climbed over. This one had not done any of that. He had just stood there and waited. And Thunder had stopped pacing for the first time in 6 weeks. Mrs. Harmon's voice came from the hallway. "Supper's ready, child." Lily did not answer. Her breath fogged the glass. She wiped it away with her sleeve and watched the stranger's back until he turned the corner and disappeared. Who was he? The question sat in her chest like a stone she could not swallow. She pulled away from the window. The light was fading now. Shadows stretched long across the floorboards. On the dresser, the unopened letter caught the last of the sun. She walked past it without looking. Downstairs, Mrs. Harmon had set the table. 2 plates. 2 forks. A pot of stew steaming in the center. "You're quiet tonight," the old woman said. Lily sat, unfolded her napkin, smoothed it across her lap. There was a man at the corral. Mrs. Harmon ladled stew onto her plate. Another one trying his luck. No. Lily picked up her fork, set it down again. He didn't try anything. He just stood there, watched the horse, then walked away. Mrs. Harmon raised an eyebrow. "That's a first." Lily did not answer. She stared at the stew, carrots and potatoes and chunks of beef swimming in brown gravy. Her stomach was tight. She was not hungry. "You know his name?" Mrs. Harmon asked. "No." "Where he's from?" "No." "What he wants?" Lily looked up, met the old woman's eyes. "He asked about ranch work at the general store. Didn't ask about the horse. Didn't ask about me." Mrs. Harmon sat back in her chair. The wood creaked under her weight. "Well," she said, "that's interesting." Outside, the last light drained from the sky. Somewhere in town, a dog barked twice and went silent. And in the corral, for the first time since his owner died, Thunder stood still. The sky was still dark when Cole reached the corral, stars fading, the air cool and damp with dew that had settled on the grass overnight. He found an overturned oak bucket near the fence, tested it with his boot, solid. He sat down, crossed his arms over his knees, and watched the darkness thin. Thunder stood in the far corner of the corral, a black shape against a black sky. Only the white of his breath gave him away, puffing out in small clouds as the cold morning air hit his lungs. Cole did not move, did not call out, did not do anything except sit there and let his eyes adjust. The first light came slow, gray at the edges of the horizon, then pink, then orange, The mountains to the east turned purple, then brown, then the color of dried clay. Thunder shifted. His hooves crunched against the packed dirt. He turned his head toward Cole, and even from 30 feet away, Cole could see the tension in the horse's neck, the way his muscles bunched under the skin. Cole breathed. In through his nose, out through his mouth, slow and steady. The horse watched him. Cole watched back. An hour passed, maybe more. The sun climbed higher. Shadows shortened. The dew on the grass began to dry, leaving dark patches where it had been thickest. By mid-morning, word had spread. Cole heard them before he saw them. Boots on the wooden sidewalk, voices carrying across the empty space between the buildings and the corral. That's him, just sitting there, been there since before dawn, they say. He did not turn around, kept his eyes on the horse. Thunder had moved to the center of the corral now, pacing in a tight circle, agitated, aware of the growing crowd. He scared or what? A man's voice, loud, meant to be heard. Cole did not answer. Maybe he's simple. Laughter. The crowd grew. 10 people, 15, men in work clothes, women in bonnets shading their faces from the sun, a boy with a stick, poking at the dirt. Cole sat on his bucket and watched the horse. Thunder's pacing slowed, stopped, started again. His ears swiveled toward the crowd, then back to Cole, then to the crowd again. Confused, waiting for something to happen. Nothing happened. More laughter from behind. Someone made a joke Cole did not catch. Someone else pulled out a pocket watch and checked the time. 2 hours, a woman said. He's been there 2 hours and ain't even touched the fence. Waste of time. Maybe he's waiting for the horse to come to him. More laughter, louder this time. Cole's hands rested on his knees. His fingers were still. His breathing was even. The sun warmed the back of his neck, and sweat began to gather along his hairline, but he did not wipe it away. Thunder stopped pacing. The crowd went quiet. The horse stood in the center of the corral, 20 feet from the fence where Cole sat. His head was up. His ears pointed forward. His nostrils flared wide, pulling in air, testing it. Cole did not move. Thunder took a step, then another, then stopped. Someone in the crowd whispered something. Cole could not hear what. The horse took 2 more steps, 15 feet now. His muscles were still tense, still ready to bolt, but his ears stayed forward. Curious. Cole opened his hands, palms up. Empty. Thunder's nostrils flared again. He stretched his neck toward the fence, toward Cole's hands, but his hooves stayed planted. 10 feet. The crowd had gone completely silent. Cole could hear his own heartbeat in his ears, could hear the horse's breathing, could hear a meadowlark somewhere in the distance, singing to the morning. Thunder took another step, then another. 5 feet. The horse's muzzle was inches from Cole's open palm, close enough to feel the warmth of his breath, close enough to smell him sweat and dust and that wild thing underneath. Cole closed his eyes. The horse breathed. In, out, in, out. Then he turned and walked away, not running, not bolting, just walking back to the center of the corral where he stood with his head up, watching. Someone in the crowd let out a breath they had been holding. Someone else laughed, nervous and sharp. Cole opened his eyes. His hands were still open, still empty. He did not move. Lily watched from the edge of the crowd. She had come with a cup of water, thinking she would offer it and leave. But she had not moved, had not spoken, just stood there with the cup growing warm in her hands. The crowd began to scatter, men checking their watches, women gathering their children. The entertainment was over, nothing to see here. But Lily did not leave. She walked toward the corral, past the dispersing crowd, past the men who muttered about wasted time and the women who shook their heads. She stopped 3 feet from where Cole sat on his bucket. "You ain't like the others." He looked up. His face was weathered, lines around his eyes from years of squinting into the sun, a scar across the back of his left thumb. "No, ma'am. You gonna ride him?" "Hadn't planned on it." She shifted her weight. The cup was still in her hands. She held it out. He took it, drank, handed it back. "Then what are you doing here?" Cole looked at the horse. Thunder stood in the center of the corral, watching them both. "Horse been fighting everyone who comes near. Figured somebody ought to just sit with him a while." Lily's fingers tightened around the empty cup. "Sit with him?" "Yes, ma'am. That's it. Just sit." Cole shrugged, one shoulder, small movement. Worked so far. He walked away. He didn't run. Lily opened her mouth, closed it. She looked at the horse, looked at Cole, looked at the horse again. Thunder's ears were still forward, still pointed at Cole. In 6 weeks of watching men come and go, she had never seen the horse do that, never seen him stand still after someone approached, never seen him look at a man like he was trying to figure something out instead of just trying to survive. "You've done this before," she said, "with horses." "Some. Where'd you learn?" Cole picked up a blade of grass, twirled it between his fingers. "East Texas, had a spread out there, before the drought." "The drought took it. The bank took what the drought left." Lily was quiet for a moment. The sun beat down on the back of her neck. Sweat gathered at her temples. "I'm sorry," she said. Cole dropped the blade of grass, watched it fall. "Land don't owe you nothing. I knew that going in." Behind them, the last of the crowd had gone. The street was empty. Somewhere, a door slammed shut. "You got a name?" Lily asked. "Cole. Just Cole. Just Cole." She nodded, looked at the cup in her hands, looked at him. "I'm Lily." "I know." She raised an eyebrow. "Shopkeeper told me," Cole said, "yesterday, when I asked about work. You asked about work, not about me." "No, ma'am." "Why not?" Cole was quiet for a long moment. His eyes stayed on the horse. Thunder had lowered his head now, grazing on the sparse grass inside the corral. Calm, calmer than Lily had ever seen him. "Ain't my business," Cole said finally, "what a woman does with her life, or why she does it." Lily's chest tightened. She did not know why. She did not know what she had expected him to say, but it was not that. "You coming back tomorrow?" she asked. Cole stood up, brushed the dirt from his pants, picked up the bucket and set it against the fence post. "Reckon so." He tipped his hat, the same small gesture he had given the horse the day before. Then he walked away. Lily stood alone by the corral. The sun was high now. The heat pressed down on her shoulders. In the corral, Thunder lifted his head, watched Cole's retreating back, then turned and looked at Lily. She could have sworn the horse was waiting for something. But what? The porch steps creaked when Lily sat down. Cole was already there. She had seen him from the upstairs window, sitting in the same spot Mrs. Harmon's late husband used to occupy, the third step from the bottom, where the wood was worn smooth from years of boots resting against it. He did not look up when she approached, just kept rolling a cigarette, his fingers working the paper with the ease of long practice. The tobacco smell drifted up, sharp and earthy. Mind if I sit? Free country? She lowered herself onto the step beside him, not too close, an arm's length between them. The wood was still warm from the day's heat, and the evening air had that particular softness that came just before full dark. Cole finished rolling, lit a match against his boot heel. The flame caught, and for a moment his face was lit orange, the lines around his eyes, the stubble on his jaw, the way his lips pressed together as he drew the first breath of smoke. He held the cigarette out to her. She shook her head. He nodded, took another drag, exhaled. The smoke curled up toward the porch roof and disappeared into the gathering dark. Behind them, through the screen door, Mrs. Harmon moved around the kitchen, pots clanking, water running, the smell of bread baking. Lily pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders. The evening was cooling fast. "Where are you from?" she asked. "Originally, I mean, before Texas." Cole was quiet for a moment. The tip of his cigarette glowed red in the dimness. "Missouri, little town called Ridgeway. Left when I was 17. Why'd you leave? Wasn't nothing there for me. Ma died when I was 12. Pa drank himself into the ground 3 years later. Figured I'd head west, see what I could find." Lily's fingers found the edge of her shawl. She rubbed the fabric between her thumb and forefinger. Wool. Rough. Something to focus on. "And you found Texas. Found work first. Cattle drives mostly. Then I found a woman. Then we found some land." He took another drag, let it out slow. "Lost the woman to fever. Lost the land to drought. Bank took what was left. I'm sorry." Cole shrugged. "Things happen. Ain't nobody's fault." "Well, drought ain't nobody's fault. Bank's another matter. But there's no use holding on to what's gone." The crickets had started. Lily could hear them in the grass beyond the porch, their song rising and falling in waves. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked twice and went quiet. "What about you?" Cole asked. "Philadelphia," the shopkeeper said. "Born and raised. My father was a tailor. I learned the trade from him. After he passed, I kept the shop running. Just you. Just me. My mother died having me. No brothers or sisters." Cole nodded. The cigarette had burned down to a stub. He dropped it on the step and ground it out with his heel. Must have been lonely. Lily's hands went still on her shawl. She looked out at the street. The lamplighter was making his rounds, and one by one the oil lamps flickered to life, casting pools of yellow light on the packed dirt. "I was good at my work," she said. "Really good. Women came from all over the city. Paid good money. Said they'd never seen stitching like mine. But nobody ever saw me. They saw the dresses. They saw the hems and the buttons and the lace. They didn't see the woman who made them. She reached into the pocket of her dress. Her fingers found the letter still folded, still sealed. She had been carrying it for weeks now, could not bring herself to open it, could not bring herself to throw it away. "That from him?" Cole asked. "The man you came to marry?" Lily pulled the letter out, held it in her lap. The paper was soft from handling, the edges worn. "He wrote it 3 days before he died. I got it in St. Louis. Haven't opened it yet. Why not?" She traced the edge of the envelope with her fingernail. The wax seal was still intact. Dark red, the color of dried blood. "Because I don't know what I want it to say." Cole did not respond. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his tobacco pouch, started rolling another cigarette. His hands moved slow and steady. "I never met him," Lily said. "We exchanged letters for 6 months. He seemed kind, steady. He had land and a horse and a house. He said he wanted a wife who could keep things running while he worked the cattle. Sounds practical. It was. That's why I agreed." She folded the letter back along its creases. "I didn't love him. I didn't even know him. I just wanted to be somewhere else, somewhere I could start over." The cigarette was rolled now. Cole held it between his fingers, but did not light it. "Nothing wrong with wanting to start over. Maybe not. But I keep wondering, what if he'd lived? What if I'd married him and found out we couldn't stand each other? What if I'd traded one kind of invisible for another?" "You don't know that would have happened." "No, I don't." She tucked the letter back into her pocket. "That's the thing about fresh starts. You don't know what you're starting until you're already in it." The lamplighter passed by on the other side of the street. His shadow stretched long across the dirt, then disappeared around the corner. "Why haven't you entered the challenge?" Lily asked. Cole lit his cigarette. The match flared, then died. Smoke curled up. "Wouldn't sit right." "Why not using that horse to win a woman?" He shook his head. "Ain't fair to either of you. The horse. Or you." Lily's hands gripped her shawl. She could feel her heartbeat in her throat. Steady, fast. "What if I'm not looking to be one?" Cole looked at her, really looked. His eyes were dark in the dim light, but she could see something moving behind them. Something careful. Something waiting. "Then what are you looking for?" She did not have an answer. The question sat between them like a stone in a river, and the silence flowed around it, behind them. Mrs. Harmon opened the screen door. "Bread's ready if you want some." Lily stood up. Her legs felt unsteady. She smoothed her dress with both hands. "I should go in." Cole nodded. "Reckon so." She walked to the door, put her hand on the frame, stopped. What if the woman's the one doing the choosing? She did not turn around, did not look at him, just stood there, waiting, her fingers pressed against the rough wood of the door frame. Cole's voice came from behind her, low, quiet. "Then I reckon the woman knows her own mind, and nobody's got a right to tell her different." Lily's breath caught in her chest. She pushed through the door and let it swing shut behind her. Mrs. Harmon was at the stove, slicing bread. Steam rose from the loaf. "You all right, Beekt, child?" Lily walked past her, up the stairs, into her room. She sat on the edge of the bed. The letter was still in her pocket. She pulled it out, looked at the seal. Her hands were shaking. She slid her finger under the wax. It cracked. The envelope opened. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded twice. She unfolded it. The handwriting was neat, careful. The letters of a man who took his time. She read the first line, then the second. Then she stopped. The letter fell from her hands. She sat there in the dark, her chest tight, her breath shallow. The words burned into her mind. He had known. He had known he was sick. He had known he was dying, and he had sent for her anyway. Sunday morning, the church bell rang across Copper Bend, and Lily walked toward the white clapboard building with Mrs. Harmon at her side. She had not slept. The letter sat on her dresser back at the boarding house, unfolded, the words still visible even when she closed her eyes. He had known. He had known he was dying when he wrote those lines, when he promised her a home and a future and a fresh start. He had sent for her anyway, hoping she would arrive in time, hoping the land and the horse would be enough to keep her here even after he was gone. The bell rang again. People streamed toward the church doors, women in their Sunday best, men with their hats in their hands, children tugging at their mothers' skirts. Lily kept her eyes forward, one foot in front of the other. She saw Garrett before he saw her. He stood at the bottom of the church steps with 4 men flanking him. All of them wore the same expression, tight jaws, narrowed eyes. The look of men who had decided something. Mrs. Harmon's hand found Lily's elbow. Maybe we should go around. Too late. Garrett had spotted them. He stepped into their path. His boots were polished. His coat was clean, but his eyes were hard. Miss Lily, Mr. Garrett, heading to church, I see. Reckon you got plenty to pray about. The men behind him chuckled. Low, mean. Lily's fingers tightened around her Bible. If you'll excuse me. She tried to step around him. He moved with her. Whole town's talking. You know, his voice carried, loud enough for the people filing past to hear. That little show you've been running, making fools of honest men. Ain't my fault honest men can't ride a horse. Garrett's jaw flexed. A vein pulsed in his temple. The drifter, he spat the word. The one who's been sitting by the corral like a lovesick dog. You sweet on him. That why you rigged this whole thing. I didn't rig anything. 25 men tried. 25 men failed. And now some stranger shows up, and the horse just walks right up to him. He shook his head. Don't add up. The people around them had stopped moving. A circle was forming. Faces turned toward them. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Harmon tugged at Lily's arm. Come away, child. Garrett stepped closer, close enough that Lily could smell the pomade in his hair, the tobacco on his breath. You think you're better than us coming here from back east with your fancy airs and your little contest. You ain't nothing but a mail-order bride whose man died before she could collect. Lily's face went hot. Her hands trembled around the Bible. Step back, Mr. Garrett. He did not step back. He grabbed her arm. His fingers dug into her flesh, hard enough to bruise. Mrs. Harmon cried out. Someone in the crowd gasped. Let her go! The voice came from behind Lily. Low, quiet, but it carried. Garrett's grip loosened. His eyes shifted to something over Lily's shoulder. Cole stood 10 feet away. He had been watching from the corner of the general store, keeping his distance from the Sunday crowd. Now he walked forward, his boots steady on the packed dirt, His hat was pulled low. His hands hung loose at his sides. He did not look angry. He did not look scared. He just looked like a man who had said what he meant and meant what he said. Garrett released Lily's arm, turned to face Cole. "You the drifter." Not a question. "I'm the man who told you to let her go. And you did. So, we're done here." The men behind Garrett shifted. One of them, a big man with a red beard, stepped forward. "Maybe we ain't done. Maybe we got some questions about what you're doing in our town." Cole's eyes stayed on Garrett. "I'm looking for work, that's all." "Looking for work?" Garrett smiled. No warmth in it. "Or looking for a wife. Heard you've been sitting at that corral every morning. Heard the horse took a shine to you. Mighty convenient, don't you think? I haven't entered any challenge, haven't asked anyone's permission for anything. Just been sitting with the horse. Sitting with the horse." The red-bearded man laughed. "What kind of man sits with a horse? The kind who knows how to wait." The laughter died. The crowd had grown larger now. 30 people, maybe 40. The church bell had stopped ringing. The preacher stood in the doorway, watching. Garrett took a step toward Cole, then another. "Here's how this is gonna go, drifter. You're gonna get on your horse and ride out of Copper Bend today, right now. And you ain't coming back." Cole did not move. "And if I don't," Garrett's hand moved toward his hip. Not to his gun, he was not wearing one. Not on Sunday, but to where a gun would be. The gesture was clear. "Then we'll make you." The men behind Garrett fanned out. 4 of them, all bigger than Cole, all watching with the hungry look of men spoiling for a fight. Cole's hands stayed at his sides. "You're welcome to try." Lily stepped forward. She moved before she knew she was moving, her body carrying her between Cole and Garrett, her Bible pressed against her chest like a shield. "This is my challenge." Her voice came out steady, steadier than she felt. "My rules, my land, my horse. You don't like it. Mr. Garrett, you can leave." Garrett's face twisted. "Get out of the way, woman. Or what?" She held his gaze. "You gonna grab me again right here in front of the whole congregation, in front of the preacher?" She tilted her head toward the church. "Go ahead. And while you're at it, maybe I'll tell the sheriff how you put your hands on me. Maybe I'll tell him what you just threatened to do to a man who hasn't broken any laws." Behind her, she could feel Cole's presence, solid, unmoving. Garrett's jaw worked. His eyes flicked to the crowd, to the preacher, to the women clutching their shawls and the men shifting uncomfortably on their feet. "This ain't over." He spat near Lily's boots, close, but not touching. "Yes, it is." He stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away. His men followed, their boots heavy on the packed dirt. The crowd began to disperse. Whispers followed them. Lily caught fragments, uppity and outsider and trouble. She ignored them. Mrs. Harmon appeared at her side. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. "Child, that was foolish. That was the most foolish thing I've ever seen." "Maybe. He won't forget this. Men like Garrett don't forget." Lily turned to Cole. He was still standing where she had left him, his hands still loose at his sides, his face unreadable. "You all right?" she asked. "Reckon I should be asking you that." She looked at her arm. Red marks where Garrett's fingers had been. Tomorrow there would be bruises. "I'm fine." The church bell rang one final time. a call to worship. But Lily did not move toward the doors. "I'm going back to the boarding house," she said. Mrs. Harmon's mouth opened, closed. She looked at the church, looked at Lily, made her decision. "I'll come with you." They walked in silence. Cole fell into step beside them, keeping a respectful distance. The streets were empty now. Everyone was in church. The only sound was their footsteps and the distant bark of a dog. When they reached the boarding house, Mrs. Harmon went inside to start dinner. Lily sat on the porch steps. Cole stood at the bottom, looking out at the street. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "Neither did you. I meant what I said. He was hurting you." Lily rubbed her arm. The marks were already darkening. "I know." Somewhere in the distance, the congregation began to sing. The sound carried across the rooftops, faint but clear. A hymn Lily recognized from her childhood, one her father used to hum while he worked. "He's going to come back," she said. "Garrett, he's not going to let this go." Cole nodded. "Probably not." "And you're still here, still here." She looked at him, really looked, at the weathered lines of his face, at the way he held himself calm, steady, like a man who had seen trouble before and was not afraid to see it again. Why? He did not answer right away. The hymn swelled, then faded. A cloud passed over the sun, and for a moment the street went gray. "I've been running for a long time," he said finally. "From Texas, from what I lost, from what I couldn't fix." He turned to face her. "Maybe I'm tired of running." Lily's chest tightened. She wanted to say something, did not know what. The words tangled in her throat. Inside the boarding house, Mrs. Harmon dropped something. A pot. From the sound of it, the clatter broke the silence. "I should help her," Lily said. "You should rest." "I'll rest later." She stood up, brushed the dust from her dress, walked to the door. "Cole, ma'am, thank you." He tipped his hat. The same small gesture he always gave. Lily went inside. That night, she could not sleep. She lay in bed and listened to the sounds of the boarding house settling around her. The creak of floorboards, the whisper of wind against the windows, Mrs. Harmon's voice, low and steady, praying in the room next door. And through the wall, she heard Cole pacing, back and forth, back and forth. Then silence, then pacing again. She stared at the ceiling. The letter lay on the dresser. The bruises on her arm throbbed. And somewhere in the dark, a floorboard creaked downstairs. Footsteps. Moving toward the front door. Lily sat up. The footsteps stopped at the front door. Lily heard the latch click. The door creaked open, then closed. She threw off her covers and crossed to the window. Below, in the moonlight, she saw Cole walking toward the stable where his mare was kept. A saddlebag hung from his shoulder. His hat was pulled low. He was leaving. Lily pressed her hand against the glass. The cold seeped through her palm. She watched him disappear around the corner of the building, and something in her chest cracked open like dry wood. She grabbed her shawl from the chair, wrapped it around her nightgown. Her feet were bare. She did not care. The stairs creaked under her weight. She moved fast, not caring if she woke Mrs. Harmon, not caring about anything except getting outside before he was gone. The front door stuck. She yanked it open. The night air hit her face, cold and sharp. She ran. Her bare feet slapped against the wooden sidewalk, then the packed dirt of the street, then something wet and cold, a puddle left over from yesterday's rain, deeper than she had thought. Her foot slipped. Her ankle twisted. She went down hard. The mud caught her, not just mud horse muck mixed with dirt and rain, the kind that gathered in the low spots near the stables. It soaked through her nightgown instantly, cold and thick and foul. Her hands sank into it as she tried to push herself up. Her knee ground into something sharp, a rock, maybe, or a piece of broken glass. She knelt there in the filth. Her shawl twisted around her shoulders, her hair falling loose from its braid. The smell rose up around her manure and rot and wet earth. Her palms were black. Her nightgown was ruined. And Cole was gone. She could not see the stable from here, could not see anything except the empty street and the dark shapes of buildings and the moon hanging cold and distant above it all. Her throat closed. Her eyes burned. She had come all this way, left everything she knew, built a challenge that 25 men had failed, stood up to Garrett in front of the whole town, and now she was kneeling in horse muck in the middle of the night, chasing after a man who did not want to stay. A sound came out of her, not a sob, something worse, a laugh, broken and wet and ugly. This was who she was, a seamstress from Philadelphia who thought she could reinvent herself in the West, a mail-order bride whose groom had lied to her, a woman nobody saw, nobody wanted, nobody stayed for. She tried to stand. Her ankle screamed. She fell back down. The mud squelched around her knees. Cold, so cold. She stayed there, stopped trying to get up. What was the point? Where was she going to go? The letter was right. The dead man had been right. He had sent for her because he knew no one else would come. He had gambled that she was desperate enough to stay even after he was gone. And she was. She was exactly that desperate. Her hands curled into fists in the mud. The filth oozed between her fingers. This was her fresh start. This was her new life. Kneeling in muck in the dark while the only person who had seen her walked away. Cole heard her fall. He was 20 feet from the stable when the sound reached him, a thud, then a cry, then silence. He stopped, turned. Moonlight caught her shawl first, white against the dark. Then the shape of her, crumpled in the street, not moving. He dropped his saddlebag. His boots hit the ground hard as he ran back. The note he had written was still in his pocket. Thank you for the water. See, but he had forgotten about it. Forgotten about everything except the shape on the ground that was not getting up. He reached her in seconds, knelt beside her. The smell hit him, the stable runoff that pooled in this part of the street after rain. She was covered in it. Her nightgown, her hands, her face where she had wiped her cheek. Lily. She did not look at him. Her head was bowed. Her shoulders shook. Lily, are you hurt? A sound came from her. That broken laugh. It made his chest tight. My ankle. Her voice was flat, empty. Twisted it. He reached for her arm. She pulled away. Don't. You're hurt. I'm fine. You're sitting in horse muck. She laughed again. That same ugly sound. I know. Cole sat back on his heels. The mud soaked through the knees of his pants. He did not care. He looked at her, really looked, at the way she held herself, curled in like something wounded, at the way she would not meet his eyes. You saw me leaving. Yes. You came after me. Yes. Her voice cracked. Stupid. I know. Stupid and pathetic and exactly what you'd expect from a woman who can't take a hint. Lily, just go. She still would not look at him. You were right to leave. There's nothing here for you. There's nothing here for anyone. Cole reached into his pocket, pulled out the note. The paper was already wrinkled from where he had crumpled it earlier, then smoothed it out, then crumpled it again. He tore it in half, then in half again. Let the pieces fall into the mud. What are you doing? She asked. Changed my mind. Why? He did not answer. Instead, he stood up, held out his hand. She looked at it, at the mud on his knees, at the torn paper sinking into the filth around them. I'm disgusting, she said. I smell like a stable. I've smelled worse. I can't walk. My ankle. I'll carry you. She stared at him. Her face was streaked with mud and tears she probably did not even know she had shed. Her hair hung in tangles around her shoulders. Her nightgown clung to her, wet and ruined. She took his hand. He pulled her up. She winced when her weight shifted to her ankle. Before she could fall again, he caught her one arm under her knees, one behind her back. Put me down. No. People will see. It's the middle of the night. In the morning, they'll talk. Let them. He carried her back toward the boarding house. Her shawl dragged in the mud behind them. She was shaking from cold or something else. He could not tell. Why did you stop? She asked. What? You were leaving. You had your bag. You were going to the stable. Why did you stop? Cole's arms tightened around her. She weighed almost nothing. Or maybe he just did not feel it. Heard you fall. That's not what I asked. He did not answer. They reached the boarding house steps. He set her down on the third one, careful of her ankle. The wood was cold under her bare feet. I'll get Mrs. Harmon, he said. She can help you clean up. Cole? He stopped, turned. She was looking up at him. Her face was a mess. Her pride was gone. Everything she had built in the last 6 weeks, the challenge, the rules, the armor, all of it stripped away. Why did you come back? He stood there in the dark, mud on his knees, the torn note somewhere behind him in the street. The moon had moved behind a cloud. He could barely see her face. Because I was tired of running. That's what you said before. It's still true, but there's something else. He was quiet for a long moment. The cloud passed. Moonlight spilled across the street again, catching the white of her shawl, the dark of his coat. I saw you at the corral, he said. That first day, the way you stood up there on that chair and told every man in town that they'd have to earn the right to court you. He paused. I've never seen anything like it. Lily's hands gripped the edge of the step. Her knuckles were white under the mud. That doesn't mean anything. It means everything. The front door opened. Mrs. Harmon stood in the frame, a candle in her hand, her face slack with sleep and confusion. What on earth? She fell, Cole said. Twisted her ankle. Needs cleaning up. Mrs. Harmon's eyes moved from Lily to Cole to the mud on both of them. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Help me get her inside. They lifted her together, carried her into the warm glow of the parlor. Mrs. Harmon started barking orders: hot water, clean cloths, the bottle of liniment from the cabinet. Cole stepped back. Let the women work. But before he left, he leaned down, close enough that only Lily could hear. I'll be at the corral in the morning, if you want to talk. Then he was gone. Lily sat in the parlor with Mrs. Harmon fussing over her ankle, and she stared at the door he had walked through, and she realized something that made her breath catch. She did not want to talk. She wanted to watch him ride. 3 days passed. Lily's ankle healed enough to bear weight, though she still favored her left side when she walked. Dawn came gray and cold. She limped toward the corral with Mrs. Harmon at her side. One hand braced against the older woman's arm. The bandage was tight. The pain was sharp. She did not care. Cole was already there. He stood at the fence, one boot propped on the lowest rail, watching thunder pace in the morning light. His hat was pulled low. His shoulders were relaxed. He looked like a man who had made a decision and was at peace with it. Lily stopped 3 feet away, let go of Mrs. Harmon's arm. Cole turned. His eyes moved to her ankle, to the way she held her weight on one side, to the dark circles under her eyes. Mind if I try today? The words hung in the air. Lily's heart beat hard against her ribs. Why now? Reckon I've sat long enough. She reached into the pocket of her dress. Her fingers found the key to the corral gate, a simple iron thing, rusted at the edges. You sure? No. He almost smiled. But I'm going to do it anyway. She held out the key. He took it. Their fingers brushed. His skin was rough and warm. Behind them, footsteps. Voices. The town was waking up. Word spread fast in Copper Bend. By the time Cole walked to the gate, 30 people had gathered. By the time he unlocked it, there were 50. Men in work clothes. Women with shawls pulled tight against the morning chill. Children perched on their father's shoulders. And Garrett. He stood at the front of the crowd, arms crossed over his chest. The bruise on his pride from Sunday had not faded. His jaw was tight. His eyes were hard, but he did not say anything. Just watched. Cole stepped through the gate, closed it behind him. The iron latch clicked. Thunder stopped pacing. The horse stood in the center of the corral. 20 feet from where Cole stood, his ears were flat, ears. His muscles bunched under his coat. His nostrils flared wide, pulling in the scent of this man who kept coming back, who never rushed, who never reached for a rope. Cole walked to the center of the corral. He stopped, let his arms hang loose at his sides, waited. Thunder snorted, pawed the ground, began to circle. The crowd murmured. Someone laughed. Get on with it. A man's voice, rough, impatient. Cole did not move. Thunder circled. Once, twice. His hooves kicked up dust that caught the early light and turned it gold. His tail lashed. His head was high, watching, waiting for the move that always came: the rope, the whip, the sudden lunge. Nothing came. 1 minute passed. Lily counted the seconds in her head, her fingers gripping the fence rail until her knuckles turned white. 2 minutes. 3. The crowd grew restless. Feet shuffled. Whispers spread. Yellow. Ain't he? Scared of a horse. Waste of time. Just like before. Garrett's lips curled. Not quite a smile. Something uglier. 4 minutes. 5. Thunder's circles grew smaller, tighter. He was 10 feet from Cole now. Then 8. Then 6. The crowd went quiet. The horse stopped. He stood directly in front of Cole, close enough to touch. His ears swiveled forward. His nostrils flared. He stretched his neck toward Cole's open hand, not touching. Just breathing. Pulling in the scent of tobacco and sweat and something else. Something that did not smell like fear. Cole did not reach for him. Thunder took another step. His muzzle brushed Cole's palm. Warm, soft, the faintest pressure, like a question. Cole's hand moved slow, up the horse's jaw, along his neck, into the thick black mane. Thunder did not flinch. The crowd held its breath. Cole gathered a fistful of mane, placed his other hand on Thunder's back. The horse's muscles tensed a warning, a test. Cole waited. 1 second, 2, 3. Thunder's muscles relaxed. Cole swung himself up. No saddle, no stirrups, just his legs gripping the horse's sides, his hands buried in the mane, his weight settling slow and easy, like he was sitting down to supper. Thunder stood still. Then he walked. Lily's hand flew to her mouth. Mrs. Harmon grabbed her arm. The crowd surged against the fence, everyone straining to see. Thunder walked the perimeter of the corral. His hooves struck the packed earth in a steady rhythm. His head was up. His ears pointed forward. He was not fighting. He was not bucking. He was moving with Cole on his back, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The walk became a trot. Cole's body moved with the horse, absorbing the rhythm, staying centered. His hands stayed light on the mane. His legs stayed steady. The trot became a canter. Thunder's stride lengthened. His muscles rippled under his coat. He was running now, really running, but there was no wildness in it, no panic, just power and speed, and something that looked almost like release. 6 minutes. 7. The crowd had gone completely silent. Even Garrett was not moving. His arms had dropped to his sides. His face was slack. 8 minutes. Thunder slowed. The canter became a trot. The trot became a walk. The walk became a stop. He stood in the center of the corral, right where Cole had first approached him. His sides heaved. His coat was dark with sweat, but his ears were forward. His eyes were calm. 9 minutes. Cole leaned forward, said something in the horse's ear, too quiet for anyone to hear. Thunder turned his head, looked back at the man on his back. 10 minutes. Cole dismounted. His boots hit the ground soft. He patted Thunder's neck, one hand. Firm, but gentle, the way you would pat a friend. He walked toward the gate. Thunder did not follow. But he did not run either. He stood where Cole had left him, watching, his ears still forward, his breathing still steady. The crowd erupted. Cheers, applause, men pounding each other on the back, women wiping their eyes, children screaming with excitement. But Lily did not hear any of it. She was watching Garrett. He stood at the edge of the crowd, separated from the celebration around him. His face had changed. The hardness was still there, but something else had crept in underneath it, something that looked almost like recognition. He had spent weeks trying to buy what Cole had just earned. He had grabbed her arm. He had threatened a man in front of the church. He had done everything wrong, and he knew it. And now he was standing there watching a stranger do everything right. Garrett's hand moved to his chest, rubbed at something there, a habit, maybe, or a memory. Then he turned and walked away, not angry, not muttering threats, just walking, slow, heavy, like a man who had finally run out of excuses. Nobody stopped him. Nobody called after him. He just disappeared into the crowd, and then around a corner, and then he was gone. Cole opened the gate. Thunder remained in the center of the corral, head lowered, grazing on the sparse grass. Lily stood exactly where she had been standing 10 minutes ago. Her knuckles were white on the fence rail. Her cheeks were wet, though she did not remember crying. Cole stopped in front of her. "Reckon that's 10 minutes. Her mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. Not quite a laugh. Something in between. "Reckon so." The crowd pressed around them. Hands reached out to slap Cole's shoulder. Voices babbled congratulations, questions, offers of drinks at the saloon. Cole ignored all of it. "You all right?" Lily wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand. "I'm fine. Your ankle still hurts. You should sit." "I don't want to sit." She was looking at Thunder. The horse stood calm in the center of the corral, head lowered, breath still heavy from the run. For 6 weeks, she had watched this animal fight every man who came near him, watched him buck and twist and bite and kick, watched him refuse to be broken. And now he stood there like a different creature entirely. Not broken, not tamed, just at peace. "How did you know?" she asked. "Know what?" "That he'd let you." Cole's hand rested on the fence rail, close to hers, not touching, just close. "I didn't." "Then why did you try?" He was quiet for a moment. The crowd was thinning now, people drifting away to their daily work. Mrs. Harmon hovered nearby, trying to look like she was not listening. "Because I was done waiting," Cole said. "And I figured he was too." Lily's chest tightened. Her hand moved without thinking, reaching toward Thunder. The horse lifted his head. His ears flicked, but he did not pull away. She watched him for a long moment. Then she turned back to Cole. "He never let me touch him before," she whispered. "He knows." "Knows what?" Cole looked at her. Really looked. The same way he had looked at the horse all those mornings at the corral. patient, steady, seeing something nobody else could see. That you're not trying to own him. The words hit her like a fist to the chest. Her hand dropped from the fence. Her eyes burned. She thought about the challenge she had built, the rules she had made, the wall she had put up to protect herself from men who only wanted to possess things. And she thought about this man who had sat on a bucket for days, asking for nothing, proving nothing, just waiting until the horse was ready. "What happens now?" she asked. Cole tipped his hat. That same small gesture, the one he had given her a dozen times before. "Reckon that's up to you." He turned and walked away. Thunder lifted his head and watched him go. The crowd parted around him. Lily stood alone at the corral fence, her ankle throbbing, her heart hammering, watching him disappear down the street. Mrs. Harmon appeared at her elbow. "Well," the old woman said, "he did it. Yes. He won the challenge. Yes. So what are you going to do about it?" Lily's hand found the fence rail, gripped it hard. She had made the rules. She had set the terms. A man who could ride Thunder for 10 minutes earned the right to court her. But that was not what she wanted anymore. She did not want to be courted. She wanted something else entirely, and she had no idea how to ask for it. The crowd thinned slow. Men drifted back to their shops and their fields. Women gathered their children and headed home. The excitement was over. Life went on. Lily stood at the corral fence, watching Cole brush Thunder down with long, steady strokes. The horse stood still, head lowered, eyes half closed. Steam rose from his coat in the cool morning air. Mrs. Harmon had gone back to the boarding house to start breakfast. The street was nearly empty now, just a few stragglers lingering by the general store, talking in low voices. Lily limped through the gate. Cole looked up. His hands kept moving on the brush, back and forth, back and forth. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "I know." "Then why?" He set the brush down on the fence rail, wiped his hands on his pants, looked at her, couldn't leave without knowing. Knowing what? His jaw worked. The words came slow, like they cost him something. "If I could be the kind of man who deserves to stay." Lily's chest tightened. She took a step closer. Her ankle protested. She ignored it. "And what did you find out?" Cole shrugged. One shoulder. That small movement she had come to recognize. "Reckon that ain't for me to decide." She laughed. Small. Real. The sound surprised her. "You're difficult. You know that." "Yes, ma'am." They stood there. Thunder shifted his weight, then went back to grazing on the sparse grass inside the corral. The sun was climbing now, burning off the morning chill. Somewhere in town, a rooster crowed late. Lily reached into the pocket of her dress. Her fingers found the letter, folded now. The seal broken. The words she had memorized burned into her mind. "His sister wrote me," she said. "The dead man's sister. She sent papers last week." Cole waited. "He left me the land, 40 acres, a cabin that needs fixing. The horse." She looked at Thunder. "All of it. In his will. That's good land. I've never worked land before, never built anything. Never fixed a fence or dug a well or—" She stopped. Her voice had gone tight. She swallowed it down. "You could sell it," Cole said. Go back east. Start over somewhere else. I could, but you won't. It was not a question. She looked at him, at the weathered lines of his face, at the calm in his eyes. No, I won't. The silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable, just full. I could use some help, Lily said. If you're looking for work. Cole's eyes moved to thunder, to the mountains beyond the town, to the sky where a hawk circled slow and lazy in the morning light. I could stick around a while, see how it goes. That's all I'm asking. He nodded, picked up the brush, went back to grooming the horse. Lily stood there for a moment longer, watching his hands move. Steady, patient, the same way he did everything. Then she turned and walked back through the gate. 1 month later, the cabin was small. 2 rooms, a stone chimney that leaked smoke when the wind blew wrong, a porch with boards that creaked underfoot. Lily sat in the rocking chair Mrs. Harmon had given her as a housewarming gift. A shirt lay across her lap, one of Cole's work shirts, torn at the elbow where he had caught it on a fence post. Her needle moved through the fabric in quick, precise stitches. The afternoon light slanted through the cottonwoods that grew beside the creek. Shadows moved across the porch. The air smelled of sage and dust and something cooking on the stove inside beans and salt pork. Nothing fancy. Thunder grazed in the meadow below the cabin. His black coat gleamed in the sun. He had filled out in the past month. Good grass, clean water, no more pacing in a cramped corral. The sound of hammering drifted up from the barn. Cole had been working on the roof all week, replacing the boards that had rotted through. He had found the lumber cheap at a mill 20 miles south, hauled it back himself. Lily's needle paused. She looked up. Cole was walking toward the cabin, his hat in one hand, wiping his forehead with the other. His shirt was dark with sweat. Sawdust clung to his arms. He stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. Water. She nodded toward the bucket by the door. He dipped the ladle, drank deep, dipped again. Roof's almost done. Another day, maybe 2. Good. He set the ladle back, looked at the shirt in her lap. That mine was. Now it's got a hole in it. Had a hole. You're fixing it. Somebody has to. The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. Close enough. He sat down on the top step, leaned his back against the porch post. His eyes found thunder in the meadow. Horse looks good. He's happy here. Reckon so. The hammering had stopped. The only sounds now were the creak of the rocking chair, the whisper of wind through the cottonwoods, the distant call of a meadowlark. Lily's needle moved through the fabric, in and out, in and out. Mrs. Harmon's coming by later, she said, bringing bread. That woman makes good bread. She does. Footsteps on the path. Lily looked up. Mrs. Harmon was already visible through the trees, a basket over her arm, her bonnet tied tight against the wind. Speak of the devil, Cole said. He stood up, brushed the sawdust from his pants, started down the steps. Where are you going? Barn. Still got work to do. You could stay. Say hello. Could. He picked up his hat, set it on his head. But then she'll start asking questions. What kind of questions? He looked at her. That same steady look he always gave, the kind neither of us has answers for yet. Then he was gone, walking toward the barn with his long, unhurried stride. Mrs. Harmon reached the porch a minute later. Her face was flushed from the walk. She set the basket on the rail and pressed a hand to her chest. Lord, that hill gets steeper every time. Sit, rest. I'll get you some water. No, I'm fine. She lowered herself into the other chair, the one Cole had built last week from scrap wood and rawhide. Just need to catch my breath. Lily went back to her sewing. The tear was almost mended now. A few more stitches and it would hold. Mrs. Harmon's eyes moved across the porch, the rocking chair, the bucket by the door, the shirt in Lily's lap. You two official yet. Lily's needle paused. She looked up. We're figuring it out. Figuring it out. Mrs. Harmon shook her head. Child, you've been figuring it out for a month. He lives in the barn. You live in the house. Folks are starting to talk. Let them talk. Easy to say, harder to live with. Lily tied off the thread, bit it clean, held up the shirt, checking her work. The stitches were tight, even the kind of work her father would have been proud of. He's a good man, she said. I know he is. And I'm not ready to be anybody's wife. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I know that too. Lily folded the shirt, set it on the rail beside the bread basket. So we're figuring it out, in our own time, our own way. Mrs. Harmon was quiet for a moment. Her eyes drifted to the barn, where the sound of hammering had started up again. He's staying. Looks like it. And you staying. Lily looked out at the meadow, at thunder grazing in the afternoon light, at the mountains rising blue and hazy in the distance. Yes. Mrs. Harmon nodded, reached into her basket, pulled out a loaf, wrapped it in cloth. Then that's enough for now. She stayed for an hour. They talked about the weather, the crops, the new family that had moved into the old Miller place. Normal things, easy things. When she left, the sun was sinking toward the mountains. The light had gone golden. The shadows stretched long across the porch. Cole came up from the barn. His boots were heavy on the steps. He sat down where he had sat before, his back against the post. Lily handed him the mended shirt. He looked at it, at the stitches, at the place where the tear had been. Good work. I know. He set the shirt aside, looked at her. Mrs. Harmon asked about us. She did. What did you tell her? Lily's hand rested on the arm of the rocking chair, close to his shoulder, not touching, just close. That we're figuring it out. Cole nodded. His eyes found thunder in the meadow. The horse had lifted his head, watching them. Reckon that's about right. The sun dropped lower. The first stars appeared above the mountains. The air cooled, carrying the smell of sage and wood smoke. Lily watched Cole's profile in the fading light, the line of his jaw, the way his hands rested easy on his knees. She thought about the challenge she had made, the rules she had set, the wall she had built to protect herself from men who only wanted to possess things. And she thought about this man who had never tried to climb that wall, who had just sat down beside it and waited. He had never tried to tame her. That was why she stayed. There is something quiet that stays with us after a story like this. Not a message we can put into words, just a feeling tender and familiar, like the weight of a hand resting on your shoulder when you did not know you needed it. Many of us have waited for something we could not name. Many of us have stood at fences, watching, wondering if we were worth staying for. Some of us have sat in the mud and believed that was where we belonged. And some of us have been surprised not by grand gestures, but by the small, steady presence of someone who simply chose not to leave. It is all right if this story did not resolve everything. It is all right if something still feels unfinished. That is how life works, most of the time. We do not get neat endings. We get mornings. We get another chance to mend what is torn, to sit with what is broken, to wait for what is wild to come to us in its own time. Some things do not need to be understood. They just need to be allowed to rest. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening all the way through.